Well, we obviously serve the cannabis industry by producing awesome, phenomenal extraction equipment. The equipment was designed for our internal purposes at a company called Capna Labs. So in 2014, we started Capna Labs. We based the model as a toll processor. So plant material in, oil out, customers happy, no delays. This is where we came from.
Did you say it was initially designed for internal purposes?
Correct. Toll processors, right? So we initially started on CO2 technology. And as a matter of fact, Capna, it's a modified word of Capnia, which means CO2 in Latin.
Oh, right.
So when we launched, we were actually going to be a CO2 toll processor. And shortly after the inception of the company, it became clear to us that we were just simply not able to turn around plant material fast enough in order to turn a profit.
So, in your opinion, what is the differentiator for Capna Systems and other systems out there on the market?
I think what makes us unique is our ultra-low process, right? So this is a patented technology. We actually own the patent for the ultra-low extraction process, right? So what does that mean? It's what we discovered is there's an ideal temperature range for ethanol, which is a highly polar solvent. If you cool it to that ideal temperature range, you can lock out some of the undesirable constituents that co-extract during the extraction process. So let's just say a CO2 extraction system will typically yield about 30% fats and lipids in the overall crude extract, which then in turn means you have to further refine it, purify it to get to at least a 60 or 70% cannabinoid ratio in the crude. What our machines do is, once you contact the plant material to the solvent, the machine upholds a particular temperature, and when you evacuate and then you reduce through evaporation, the crude oil is going to always be, one, it's going to be dewaxed. For the better part, it's going to be free of chlorophyll, and you will have a cannabinoid yield of somewhere in the 72 to 75%. We've seen as high as 82% in the overall cannabinoid range, but if we're talking about THC, above 70% is typical, which I'm not sure how many other extraction systems can guarantee that.
Right. So who is your typical customer? Are people coming to you when they're just starting a new facility, or are they looking to come in and kind of upgrade their equipment?
It's both. We do have a lot of interest, obviously, from the entrepreneurs, the startups. They definitely, I think the consumer base now, the customer base is becoming a little bit more educated, and ethanol is taking more of a front seat in the cannabis extraction space, which wasn't true about 2.5, 3 years ago. Likewise, we have customers that are upgrading from, let's say, CO2 extraction or hydrocarbon, because they understand that even hydrocarbon, you still have to dewax. I think that's like the key word here is we can produce a fully dewaxed extract with our systems, and neither hydrocarbon nor CO2 can do that currently.
So you said that people are more educated now than they have ever been before, but what are some of the myths or misconceptions out there that people still don't understand about ethanol processing?
At this point, I don't think there's many.
Okay.
If you would have asked me this question a year ago, then obviously, like the Rick Simpson hemp oil, if anybody knows what that's like, that's a process where you just take some ethanol, you wash some material in it, but the end result, the crude oil, it's always very heavy in all of the other constituents that you don't want. It's a very black, pasty kind of extract, to where here now we can provide like a shatter quality extract using a super highly polar solvent. Everybody's getting keen on that. There's enough stuff in obviously in the internet space. Competition is coming about. There's enough marketing happening around it that when people come to us, they pretty much know exactly what they're going to be looking at and what are the results that we're going to be able to produce for them.
What is a typical maintenance schedule like on the equipment?
For good manufacturing practices, I would recommend you do it at the end of every shift. But it's just, cleanliness, right? So as far as maintenance on the mechanical parts, we do a pretty good job at providing quality components. So, that hasn't really been an issue for us. We don't really send out too many technicians out for repairs. But as far as cleanliness goes, probably want to do it at the end of every shift. Yeah.
What is a typical ROI for somebody when they invest in your equipment?
This machine, 6 days.
6 days. Wow.
That's assuming that you could sell all of the oil that you produce.
Okay.
So this is a common misperception by the cannabis entrepreneur. Everybody does the math on how many grams they could output in a day, and they completely overlook the fact that, oh my God, we have to sell it. So my biggest advice would be, before you do the math on how many grams you could output out of this machine, do the math on where you're going to sell it.
So when people kind of wind up in that predicament and they can't sell it, are they just stuck, or what are their options at that point?
Sell at a discount, maybe be stuck, develop your sales channels. It's something that happens. We typically always ask the right questions, the qualifying questions before we try to sell a system. People come in and they want to buy the biggest system because they're doing the math on the grams on output. But after an interview process and we sit down, or our sales team sits down with them, we begin to understand and build a clearer picture of, hey, maybe you don't need this guy, maybe you need something like that, and grow into something like this.
What was it that brought you to the industry?
What was it that brought me to the industry? A little bit of the wild, wild west cowboy type of outlaw. Was there's some romance behind that. You know what I mean? I kind of fell in love with that part of it. I've been in the industry since 2010, and I think that's what it was. It was trying to be outside of the law. Obviously, the financial rewards of the cannabis industry. If you do it right, you can earn.
So what's your outlook for the industry, like within the next year and then over the next 5 years?
I think that processors, if you are looking to get into the extraction industry, I think it's very important to do the due diligence on, your go-to-market strategy. It's not about just having a facility and buying the equipment. Please do not do your math on the grams on output, because the market is getting tighter. We see that distillate prices are dropping. We're also seeing that what used to be the heady market, which is like the shatter, the sauces, the connoisseur product, they're kind of getting pushed out. As recreational cannabis happened, what it did is it opened up the doors to a lot of people that wouldn't typically smoke cannabis, but now they're a little bit curious. When they walk into a dispensary, the mass of the bulk of the product now is vape cartridges, or flower. You'll see less and less of the connoisseur type of product. So if you're one to kind of enter this industry today, understand exactly what is the market, what is it needing right now. There's certain statistics that you could look up as to relative, how much vape cartridges are sold relative to something like a shatter product. Do the research there, because you might position yourself as a lab to produce one or the other product, but that might not be a very profitable product for you or for your marketplace.
Okay. So then what's your prognosis on the CBD industry?
The CBD industry, well, what is our prognosis? Our prognosis is that the CBD industry is going to chew up these machines within a year. Obviously, us as a company, internally, we're taking all of the necessary steps for modular scalability, to where we can take one of these Atlas machines and instead of replacing a machine for higher throughput, what we can do is add components to it to get higher throughput. Because, obviously with the CBD, we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of acres going live. CBD is also, it's a less yielding molecule, so you have to run more biomass to get the necessary yields that you're looking for, and depending on, I guess, the markets and whether it's going to be isolate or distillate. But for us as a company internally, our goal is to make scalability something that is like a Lego set.
Can you describe sort of your approach to R&D and how you continue to innovate while still bringing products to market?
Sure. I think what really kind of makes us us, and what the Capna brand really means is efficiency, right? So everywhere that we look and everything that we do, we always try to, let's say, combine processes, right? So instead of maybe having 2 steps to do something, we have 1 step that does 2 things, right? So, cooling, heating, this, that, we try to combine all of the energy inputs and outputs and find a fine delta there. Ultimately for us, we obviously want to make a machine that is quick to ROI, doesn't consume too much electricity. Yeah.
Well, I think if you nail those 2, you're already doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's our goal. That's what we try.